Welcome to TeachMeAll.com. In this video, we're going to show you how to change the serpentine belt, the belt tensioner, and the idler pulley on this 1999 Ford Windstar.
That's right. You know, the serpentine belt plays a critical role in the operation of your vehicle, and it can be prone to failure after a time. So it's important that you inspect it periodically.
Serpentine belt turns the power steering pump, the water pump, your air conditioner, and your alternator. So if it breaks or whatever, it can leave you stranded and it can really damage your motor.
That's right. Now we're going to review with you the tools that we use to do this project.
We'll need a jack stand, 2 wheel chocks, a new serpentine belt tensioner, a new idler pulley, and a new serpentine belt. We also need a 3/4 socket and ratchet to remove the lug nuts, and a 10mm socket and ratchet to remove the belt tensioner bolts, a standard flat screwdriver, a 13mm box end wrench, and a 15mm box end wrench. I'm going to need a torque wrench, a shop light, some safety goggles. First, we're going to set the emergency brake and put the wheel chocks behind both rear tires. Now, to access the belt tensioner, we're going to remove the passenger side tire. First, we'll remove the center cap using our flathead screwdriver so we can access the lug nuts. Then we'll use our 3/4 socket and ratchet to loosen up the lug nuts by turning them 1/4 to 1/2 turn. Then we're going to place the jack under the vehicle and raise it up. And when we have the wheel off the ground, we're going to go ahead and slide our jack stand under the vehicle. And never crawl under a vehicle unless you have a jack stand supporting it. Lower the vehicle onto the jack stand. Then we can go ahead and remove the lug nuts. We're going to store our lug nuts in the center cap just for safe keepings. Then we're going to slide the tire up under the vehicle for convenience and for safety. Then we're going to raise the hood to have access to the top of the engine. Then we're going to identify the parts we are replacing. First, this is the idler pulley. This is the serpentine belt. And this is the belt tensioner. Now, using our 13mm box end wrench, we're going to try to release the tension on the belt tensioner so we can remove the serpentine belt. We had a partner in this case remove the serpentine belt from the top off the alternator. If you don't have a partner handy, you might be able to move it off the crankshaft at the bottom, but it's much easier to have 2 people working on this project. Then we slide the belt out through the top. Now with the old belt removed, we're going to compare it to the new belt and make sure they are the same length. Now we're going to remove the idler pulley using our 15mm box end wrench. We had to use a box end wrench on this because we could not get a socket and ratchet to fit. It's a tight, close fit. Now we finish removing the bolt with our hand. Once the bolt's removed, we'll remove our idler pulley. Then we're going to compare the old idler pulley and the new one to make sure they are the same. Now we're going to transfer our bolt and washers from the old idler pulley to the new one. You may want to leave this back one just a little bit loose. It helps you to get the bolt into position a little bit better. There's a notch in the body here. It might help you to work your pulley into place. Get your pulley lined up. Tighten the bolt up by hand as best you can. And then using the 15mm box end opening wrench, go ahead and tighten up your idler pulley. Now we just spin at the very end to make sure everything moves freely. Then we're going to move the belt tensioner. We have 3 bolts. And this view is from under the vehicle. That's the first bolt. And this is a view from the top. Here are the other 2 bolts we need to remove. To access this bolt, we need to relieve the tension using our 13mm box end wrench. Now we use our 10mm socket and ratchet to loosen up this first bolt. Then we can release the tension and move to the second bolt. This is a view from the top, but we're accessing the bolt from the bottom. Now this arrow is pointing to the bolt we just removed, and this is the third bolt here the arrow is pointing to that we need to remove. Again, we're accessing it from the bottom, but this view is from the top. Okay, with this last bolt removed, we can slide the belt tensioner out. Now you can see the old belt tensioner here. We're going to spin the pulley and you can hear the bearings inside, so this belt tensioner did need to be replaced. Then we're going to compare the old belt tensioner to the new one. As you notice, in the middle of the tensioner pulley, the bolt is a 15mm instead of a 13mm like the old one was. Also, the new belt tensioner has this metal rod inserted that keeps the tension on the belt tensioner. This allows you to put the bolt, access the bolts in all 3 locations. Once we have the belt tensioner installed, we use our wrench to remove the tension off the tensioner and then remove the pin. Now, here are the 3 bolt locations that we'll mount the tensioner. Then we're going to slide the tensioner into place. And first we'll install the bottom bolt. Then we're going to install the second bolt. And we'll just tighten these up by hand for the time being. Then we'll install our third bolt. Again, this is a view from the top, but we're accessing the bolts from the bottom. We're going to tighten up the bolts using our 10mm socket and ratchet. And finally, we'll torque these bolts to 35 foot-pounds unless otherwise specified. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the pin we talked about earlier using our 15mm box end wrench. We're going to remove the tension on the pulley and pull the pin out with our hand. This is a view from under the hood. This is a sticker located at the front that shows the routing of our serpentine belt. Then we're going to install a new serpentine belt and route it correctly based on the engine sticker. Make sure the groove side of the serpentine belt goes into the grooves of the pulleys, and the smooth side serpentine belt goes against the smooth side of the pulleys. Now we're going to release the tension on the belt tensioner and have your partner slide the belt over the alternator. Then we're going to reinstall our tire. Then we just snug down the lug nuts. While our lug nuts snug down, we're going to lower the vehicle onto the ground. So first we're going to use our jack, raise the vehicle up so we can remove the jack stand. Slide the jack stand out and lower the vehicle onto the ground. Now we're going to torque the lug nuts to 83 to 113 foot-pounds unless otherwise specified. You need to torque them in a crisscross pattern. We line up the center cap. Remove our wheel chocks behind both rear tires.
Well, we hope this video will help you change the serpentine belt, the belt tensioner, and the idler pulley on your 1999 Ford Windstar.
Send any comments you may have to comments@teachmeall.com. And as always, thank you for visiting teachmeall.com and have a great day.